just to kick things off, Mr. Knowles, thank you so much for joining us today. We're all very excited to have you here and get to know more about you and what's made you such a successful entrepreneur and so successful in so many different industries. So I'm excited to pick your brain a bit.
I'm excited to be here.
So just to give some people more context, if they're not aware of your background, you started in more of a corporate sort of environment, and then you moved on to launching careers in the music industry, such as Beyonce, Destiny's Child, and many other artists who've gone on to be some of the biggest names in history. And you've got some amazing stats here, which blew my mind. You've generated over 5 billion across multiple industries, including sales and marketing, brand development, entrepreneurship, and leadership. And over 1 million in sales and acquisitions, which is incredible. So
I think it was 100 million.
Sorry, 100 million.
In
Wow.
sales and acquisitions.
Sorry, I was skim reading there.
Thank
you. That's a major difference.
I listen. That's one of the things.
It's a crucial difference. Thank
listening
you.
skills. You know, I just listen intensely.
Thank you.
Intently.
So basically, when I read that and learned that about you, my mind was blown and I wanted to do the same thing. So I was wondering how you achieved that and what do you think led to that sort of success across multiple different industries?
Yeah. Well, you know, to give some context, I started with Xerox Corporation in 1978 when they were cream de la cream with IBM. You couldn't work at any better corporations. Amazing training that they gave us, amazing training. So you think Xerox, you think copiers. Well, I only sold copiers for 9 months. I sold engineering, a microfiche reader printer, and then I got a quantum leap promotion to the medical division. Every month in the copier division, I was the #1 sales rep. Every month as a trainee, I was the #1 trainee. And when we were interviewing, I say we, because a lot of people interviewed for this position because the salary was extremely high and you had the capability of making 6 figures, selling a product, zero radiography, which was the leading modality for breast cancer in the 80s. And I was able to get that position because my competition, they went in their interviews talking about, well, I've been here 12 years or 15 years. There was a library right across the street from our office in Houston. I spent a month in a library researching and understanding all I could about breast cancer. And none of them did that. So although I had only started for a year and a half and had some success, but I came into the interview with knowledge. And I always say knowledge is power. So selling that equipment and being a #1 sales rep for 3 out of 4 years in the world, that made a significant amount of money for Xerox Medical Systems. They closed that division in 1988. And you can imagine being the #1 sales rep in the world, your name gets out in the medical field, and headhunters, we call them, they're calling. And I get another quantum leap jump to sell MRI and CT scanners with Philips. And to be the first Black person to sell CT and MRI scanners in America. And that equipment back then, it was first generation. So it was about 7 million, and then the installation 3 million. So we're talking 10 million. And I did very well. Then I got knocks on the door, and Johnson & Johnson wanted to bring me in a division called Codman, and I became a neurosurgical specialist. Normally at this point, people are like, wow, I didn't know this guy's kind of smart. Because you have to be to do those things because, you know, you're dealing with lives and you're dealing with technology. And then we started our hair salon in the 80s, and a whole different concept. And ladies, you know this. The number one, I'm about doing focus groups and proof of concept. So I use a proof of concept that we all use when we go to the doctor. We go to the doctor, they ask us to write all of the stuff down, historical stuff. The nurse comes, takes you into the doctor's office room, and then she takes your temperature, he or she, and weighs you and asks you why you're here. And you tell her, hey, I'm an infection. And she writes that all up. The doctor looks at it. And when he or she walks in the room, they kind of have an idea. We took that proof of concept into the hair industry because the number one challenge in the hair industry is time. Women want to reduce their time in a hair salon.
Yeah.
And if you could do that, then you could triple what you charge. And we did it. We had assistants. The stylist never left a chair. They were always at the chair. The assistant shampooed, color, all of those things. We had defined our marketplace. We want women who made $75,000 or more, professional women. We had fax machines. We served champagne and wine. No kids were allowed. And so we made our first million in 85. Then we went on to the music industry. And in the music industry, that industry was selling records. I was branding. While they were about selling records, I was about branding my artists. I mean, that's why you know the names of most of them in a big way, because they've been branded. In 2003, there was a meeting in New York. All of the presidents around the world suddenly came, and it was a toast that I had generated $2 billion for Destiny's Child. That was 2002. Wow. It says 5 billion, probably more, like 7 or 8 billion, I don't know. Then we started the House of Darian clothing line. Didn't know anything about apparel. You'll see this common thread. Didn't know anything about hair salon. Didn't know anything about technology. I believe there's transferable skills. And secondly, people buy you first, then your product. Most people don't understand that. People buy you first. That trust, that knowledge in you. And then, oh, by the way, what are you selling? So we started House of Darian, a clothing line. I was the chief marketing officer. And we had a high-end, which was the House of Darian, that we were in the major high-end stores. And then we had Darian, which was more of an urban line. And then we were able to get into Walmart with the Miss Tina, my former wife and friend, her name, the Miss Tina line, lower end. We did, in 7 years, we went from zero, and then we sold the company for $75 million to Leon Fong, who was a sourcer for Walmart's apparel. And then I sold my company, it's public information, to Sanctuary Music here in London in 2002. The management part of the company. I got $10 million, $30 million worth of stock. I bought my company back in 2007. I sold my catalog 2 years ago for over 20 million. So we've done well. We've done well. And that's how we got to that 5 billion.
It's amazing. Are you looking for a new wife?
I am so happily married.
Oh no!
I've been married for 10 years to Gina. I would marry a Tina and then a Gina.
Yeah.
Only I would do that. And fortunately, she's here with me. She travels with me. So when you book me, see, I've already assumed the sale. When you book me,
manifest.
my wife travels with me, who was first generation flight attendant with Pan Am, and Vanessa Williams, the music star, her assistant and tour manager for 12 years. And my wife is former model. So she rolls with me.
Matthew. So
I have many names.
what do you prefer to be called?
Mathew Knowles. I have Mr. Knowles. I have Dr. Knowles.
Dr. Knowles sounds
And
cool.
I have Beyonce and Solange Daddy.
Beyonce and Solange Daddy.
That's what I get the most.
Okay, I'll take off with that.
I have many names. Pick one.
Beyonce and Solange Daddy. What I wanted to know is, so you basically started all of this before this major rise in technology, AI, social media.
Yeah.
You were branding and marketing and having major success with that then. And then also while it was still on the rise and now. So you've been there throughout the whole transition. Has your approach towards branding, managing artists, your career in general, like changed over that period because of that?
It hasn't changed fundamentally. I think technology, as you said, AI and SEO, analytics, things that we have today has allowed us to have more information in our approach to our fundamental marketing, what differentiates us, brand development, those things that are critically important. I mean, why does someone buy Nike versus a regular pair of shoes? It's marketing is about telling our story and messaging, right? And I love marketing. That's really my strength, marketing and sales. So my approach hasn't really changed, except I now have technology that I can use that I didn't have back then. I didn't have analytics. I didn't have SEO. I didn't have those things.
So now you can be more accurate and
right.
You're able to see the impact of your work maybe a bit more in numbers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a nerd, so I love seeing numbers.
Yeah.
I'm that guy.
So throughout your career with all those major successes, would have also been some failures along the way, as everyone has sort of encountered. What would you say your relationship with failure is, and how have you been able to reframe it in your head to sort of spur you on to succeed in the future?
Good question. I've written 5 books, and one is The DNA of Achievers, 10 Traits of Highly Successful Professionals. And it's a #1 bestseller at Amazon. In that, I have a chapter, Learning from Failure. You see, when you're taking risk, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to maybe not reach your goals. But failure is an opportunity to grow, not a reason to quit. And most people quit with failure. I've never gotten better because I was great at something. I've gotten better when I failed and looked at another way of doing it and the impact of that failure. So I view failure again as an opportunity. And I share that in a different way. I always, at the end of any of my keynotes or anything I do, I always share this at the end, but I'm going to do it now because it's really appropriate for what the question is. I'm a storyteller. I was in LAX. It was in the early 2000s when CDs were at the height. And when you would go through when I would go through the airport, I would get just inundated with people. I want to get a record deal, CDs, and business cards. So I'm going down this escalator, and there's a nun from Mexico with a jar. Please give to the missionary. Missionary is terribly misspelled, but that's not the point. So I gave, and she gave me a card. And this goes to what your question. That card said, pray not for a life free from trouble. Pray for triumph over trouble. For what you and I call adversity, the universe calls opportunity. And when you ask about failure, we often forget that adversity is an opportunity for us. You
Yeah.
see, whenever I'm speaking, Beyonce has a thing that she gets in a zone at a certain point of her show. And I can tell, and I'm about to get in that zone right now. And when I get in that zone, I have you jumping, screaming.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
On the edge of your seat. I can tell it's a thing that happens that I just feel so comfortable.
The flow.
Yeah,
That's good though. I'm
yeah.
happy that you feel that way.
I'm not thinking. That's the thing. That's why I want to know the questions. I think what makes me different, I hope what makes me different is I'm authentic. What you see today is what you see tomorrow. I'm not thinking my answers. It just flows because it's truth.
Yeah, maybe that's why so many people and audiences connect with your insights, because you are like on LinkedIn, you named as a top voice alongside Richard Branson and Bloomberg. And so it's a really sort of incredible title to have on
That's
the
a big
platform.
deal.
It's a really big deal.
That's a big deal.
And do you like have any idea why people connect with you so much and really like value insight? Do you think that that's why? Because you so
We strategically, and I say we, I have a young man in Canada, Rishi Sawad, that has done an exceptional job with my social media.
yeah.
And I write, motivational things. He makes it sound even better than I made it sound, because he's really good at that. And it's just about connecting with people and knowing what we go through in a day. I just talk about what I'm going through, and other people are going through it also.
Yeah.
And
We all more
some
similar than
days
each other.
there's a chaotic part of me. I talk about that. Some days there's a very happy side of me. Some days I talk about just looking out the window, and that's the creative side of me. That I just some days look out the windows and just ideas come up.
Yeah. What role do you think creativity has played in your career?
A lot. I mean, that's why when I wake up in the morning, I get up, because if I don't, when my brain starts thinking, and if I used to say I'm gonna just lay here for another hour, I can't do that. When my brain turns on, it's on. I just get up and I'm like, okay. But creativity, yes, I always think outside of the box, because most of us, unfortunately, are box-end thinkers. We've been conditioned since childhood. Our teachers, our other students, they've conditioned us things and messaging like you can't accomplish things because you're poor, or because you're part of the LGBTQ community, or because you're Black or Jewish. Box-in thinkers. We've been conditioned, and who do we want in our box is someone else just like us. And once you get in that box, all you do is hit walls all day long.
Yeah.
You just hit walls because there's a box. Two people trying to move around. I actually do this live when I give some of my keynotes. But when you step outside of that box, there's no walls. And that's what I want people to know that are box-in thinkers, that they have been conditioned to do and say. And if you're a hater, you're going to have a hater in your box. That's how it works.
Yeah, and that does play quite a big role in innovation within organizations and stuff. Having different people in a room from different backgrounds with different sort of skill sets. Like I think having a room filled with people that are all in the same box, sort of.
You said it well, because that, according to who I'm talking to, what topic, that takes us into diversity, equity, and inclusion, right?
Yeah.
Having different people with various backgrounds. You don't want a lot of yes people. You want people to feel that they can express themselves and think outside of the box. But we're getting it confused a lot of time. And I know London or the UK is really just starting diversity, equity, and inclusion. I always tell the story. I am 71 years old. I grew up in Gaston, Alabama, which is in the South. George Wallace was the governor. Racism was everywhere. Segregation now, segregation forever was his motto. I never went to a Black school. In the 50s in Alabama, I've been electric prodded by the state troopers. I've been beaten. I've been spit on. I went to a white junior high school, a white high school, University of Tennessee, which was 99% white. So when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, we have to understand after segregation was affirmative action. And it's often we get confused with diversity, equity, and inclusion when it's really affirmative action. We're really just getting numbers. Well, we have diversity. We have
so much more than that, though.
we have 20 women. We have some,
Yeah.
That's not what
No.
diversity, equity, and inclusion is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm in the zone now.
I can feel it. Yeah. Yeah, it's so important. It really, really is. And it's also so important for corporations and companies to realize that by just having this amount of people from this sort of group and this group is enough, because it's really not. And that's where equity also plays an important part, like realizing the value and harnessing that value within all those people from different backgrounds, and making them feel safe and stuff. So you must have seen quite a big like evolution of that throughout your career, because people weren't speaking about this sort of stuff 50 years ago and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right. I've seen the train take off, and
there's so much more work to do, but at least we're starting the conversation.
And it's about, again, people understanding the difference in affirmative action. A lot of companies think they're doing diversity, equity, and inclusion, when in fact they're just doing affirmative action. And that starts in the C-suite, that the head of the companies have to have a belief system that is open to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
How would you advise those sort of C-suite individuals on fostering that sort of culture?
I've had the opportunity to talk to some C-suites. And it really, I make them uncomfortable.
Yeah, because they
change is supposed to be uncomfortable, because the challenge we have, and I don't know the UK as much, but in America, the challenge that we have is that decision makers in America are old white men. And I say this to them, old white men who think a certain way.
And have for years. It's like so deeply ingrained within them.
And we do some exercises and it gets real uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But
I can imagine.
The only person I know that feels comfortable with change are babies. When you change their diaper, they love that. Other than that, that's about all I know.
I didn't think you were going there.
See,
I really didn't see that coming. You really did.
I got you.
You really, really did get me. Yeah, change is so important. And you've been so good at that. If you look at your sort of history, you've really sort of been so adaptable in all senses and really sort of just taken change on and succeeded. So that's
not every time. I talk about in my book, Racism from the Eyes of a Child, which really talks about me growing up through this terrible part of my life. When I got in my 50s, and I was working at Sanctuary, we one on time thing?
No, sorry, I just was checking. That'll be fine.
And I was working at Sanctuary here. My management company bought Eve, the artist Eve and Floor Tree. So I bought that management company, $2 million. The management company that had Nelly I bought that management company. Mary J. Blige, Ken Do, who eventually married her. I bought that management company. Somebody else I'm leaving out. Mary, the gospel group, I bought their manager. And all of those managers reported to me around 2006. Then on the record side, I had Shaka Khan on the label. I actually did Shaka Khan in the London Symphony. I encourage you to listen to that. It's one of the things I'm most proud of is that was a beautiful rendition that she did with the London Symphony here. But we had Earth, Wind and Fire, Kool and the Gang, Sunshine Anderson. The point is, there was a chaotic part of me because I also had Destiny's Child. By then, all the ladies were on their solo careers, Solange. I had all of these artists and all of these people, 100+ people. I was in London every month for almost 7 years, staying at the Sanderson Hotel. I had offices in LA, offices in New York, offices in Germany, offices in Houston. It became too much.
Yeah.
It just became way too much. And that chaotic part of me came out that required me to go to therapy for almost 10 years. And finally, 3 years in, finding a male Black therapist that understood that it was racial trauma that I hadn't dealt with. And now that you know something about me, you can understand and see how that would be. Caused my divorce, caused me to lose my kids. Fortunately, I've regained them, and Tina is my friend. But it was some challenging times. Unfortunately, I met, an amazing woman. That's my wife.
So even though in the second part of your life, there was little or no racism for you, it was the first part of your life, which was the undealt with.
Correct. Second part of my life is still racism. In America, I talk about driving while Black, eating while Black, flying while Black.
Yeah, like this.
I don't feel that here.
Really?
There's more integration overall.
Yeah,
here.
I don't feel that here. I've
interesting.
told 3 or 4 people, my friends, I said, I love this. You don't have guns. I mean, 3 days ago, a Black woman got shot through the door in Florida, trying to recover her son's iPad that he left at the park. And she was just, the white woman picked it up and took it home, and she knocked on the door, and the lady shot through the door and killed him. I don't feel that here.
Yeah, but then that also brings in like the gun laws and all sorts of stuff, which is a different conversation.
Yeah,
I want to get into that.
that's a long one.
But Beyonce and Solange's daddy, I wanted to so just to sort of close things off here, so we can maybe move some questions to the audience too.
Cool.
If you do have a particular standout highlight of your career that you sort of lie in bed at night before you go to sleep and you're like, that's it, or has everything sort of been equally rewarding?
There's been highlights. I mean, I had seen Blue Ivy, my granddaughter.
Yeah.
I had seen it on social media, and I thought, oh, okay, she did like maybe a minute dance routine, but she did 7 minutes and led the choreography.
I saw her on stage.
In front of 70,000 people. Yeah. And that was a highlight, seeing my granddaughter do that for the first time.
But also what's quite incredible is it's like she's able to do that in front of 70,000 people because of quite important work that you did with your daughters and stuff decades ago. So it's all sort of been built.
And I think it's DNA. I'm a cancer survivor. I don't know if you know that or not. I'm a male breast cancer, quite odd. But I'm also BRCA2 mutated, meaning my genetic, have mutated genes. There's one takeaway.
Angelina.
Yeah, but one takeaway, what I'm about to say, because I've been part of research now for 5 years. 50% of this room is genetically mutated and you don't even know it. 50% of the world is genetically mutated. And you need to take a genetic test, which is a simple saliva test. It doesn't tell you that you're going to get cancer or cardiovascular disease. What it tells us is you are mutated and have a higher chance of getting cancer or cardiovascular disease. Half of the room is sitting here. Now, are you going to act on that, or are you going to gather the information and do nothing? Because if you know that you're genetically mutated, then you might want to do a lifestyle change, which is what I had to do. Then cut out most of my drinking, started exercising, lost 30 pounds, meditate. Those are some of the things. Oh, and seldom do I eat meat. Seldom. Those are some of the things that you want to know. I don't smoke, but if you're a cigarette smoker, if you're mutated, you might want to stop smoking cigarettes. Yeah. And I encourage you, it's not anymore, ladies, I'm speaking to the ladies, it's not anymore just getting a mammogram. It's getting genetic testing at an early age. I'm saying 30-ish, so that you know. And you know, a lot of what I talk about is about health and wellness as well.
Yeah, that is so important because, like you said, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
So it allows you to make informed decisions about your lifestyle choices and stuff going forward.
I just got booked literally last week in the Cayman Islands.
Lovely.
For
What
yeah,
a
that's kind
dream.
of cool, right? Talking about health and wellness in my journey with breast cancer, male breast cancer.
Yeah.
Paid me $50,000 too, by the way. Paid for all my travel. Presidential suite.
Oh God.
Per diem.
Stop.
I'll show you the contract. That's what I get.
It's incredible though.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
I'm good at what I do.
I can tell. Okay, so that was a lovely discussion. We will carry on having it, but I also wanted to open it up to the floor, and people on a live stream, you're more than welcome to drop some questions in the chat box or Q&A box. So does anybody have anything they want to ask Beyonce and Solange's daddy? I like that one that just rolls off my tongue. Dr. Knowles is coming next.
Oh, man.
So I've got a couple of business
Sure.
questions.
Oh, sorry, do you want to take this?
I'm with 7 bureaus. My assistant, who's been with me for 20 years, Lynn Amanza, she and Rishi, they manage those bureaus. I don't get involved with them hardly at all.
Okay.
But most, and I think I have 9 dates booked for this year and growing. They all came from either LinkedIn or MathewKnowles.com. There's a book me to speak. That's where I'm getting most of my.
So they're not coming from Washington and.
No,
Harry
I'm
Ward.
just very disappointed in the speaker bureaus. Yeah.
And of the people that are booking you, are they, what kind of, is there any kind of common thread in the type of companies? Or that they
It's
are?
corporate. I have a
all sorts of-
corporate and Detroit, Michigan, major corporation. I have the health and wellness. I have universities. I have some black, what do they call them? Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
It's all over the place.
And is it mostly DEI, or is it the curiosity about entertainment, or is it?
It's all over
It's
the
everything,
place.
wellness.
Because I can talk about multiple things.
Yeah.
And I've experienced them. I'm not
Right.
just talking about them. I've lived them.
Thank you.
Hi.
So that means I can shoot 3-pointers, I can dunk, I can rebound.
balls.
Oh, there you go.
Should get her for the W.
I see. She's lived in New York. I see you. I see you. I see you.
Billy Fields, baby.
Oh,
Rachel?
I've got a couple of questions from some of the consultants that are
Sure.
watching our live stream. So Harry Whitbread has asked if there's any flexibility in your rate.
absolutely. There's always flexibility. You have to, we look at nonprofits, we ask questions like, is this a paid event? Because if you're making money, we want to make money. And so we ask those types of questions to understand, and we're flexible based on the answers.
Okay. And then also one from Marlene, who asked whether you would join briefing calls yourself and whether you would be open to tailoring your sessions.
Say that again?
Whether you would be joining briefing calls yourself and be open to tailoring your sessions to the client.
Would I be joining your briefing calls?
When we have the call between the client, when you're introduced for the first time to talk about the content.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, brilliant.
There was a second part of that, briefing calls, and
Will you tailor your sessions to the client?
always,
Yeah.
always say it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
You know, it's the thing about entertainment is that you have to know your audience.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I always do
Obviously
that.
do, because
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
a few years and years of it. Rachel, do you have another question?
I did actually have a question. So I was going to ask, you speak quite a lot about, well, you've had so much success in terms of branding and marketing and sort of propelling people to such a high stage. What would you say is important in terms of longevity for success, as opposed to just reaching that point, but actually staying relevant, staying successful, and keeping people in tune with that success long
Good
term?
question. Very good. It's two things. Passion. When you live your passion, that thing that energizes you, that you wake up in the morning excited, you go to bed. I went to bed at night talking to my wife about today. I talked to, I forgot his name in Quebec.
Alexi.
Alexi, it's 7 o'clock last night. I think it was. Looked at some of the notes. Because I'm excited about it. I love what I do. And so it's about finding your passion. And most people haven't found their passion yet. And some people say, well, how do I do that? And I keep everything simple. Get a piece of paper, write down 10 things you like, look at it, and then of these, which one do I love? And then go for it. Because when you live your passion, folks, you never work a day in your life. So I'm not working. I have the best job in town. I get to talk and make money.
That sounds like my dream.
But there's more to it. People that live their passion also have these incredible work ethics. Because what goes hand in hand like a glove is passion and work ethics. You've heard people say, I have this big dream, and I love the fact that you dream. But I also know people that have $1 million dreams with minimum wage work ethics.
It takes action, it really does.
And when you look at greatness, because when I teach, and I've taught, all over the world, first day of classes, all the same. I'll say, glad to be here. If you came to this class to be good, don't come back. If you want to learn greatness, come back. I teach greatness. I don't teach how to be good. And my work speaks for itself. I always cite Kobe Bryant, the basketball player, who was a friend, nice young man. He had a thing called 666. So what is 666? Basketball season is 6 months. You have 6 months off. Most players, they go on vacations, and Kobe, on the other hand, he had 6 months off. He worked 6 days a week, 6 hours a day. and he called it 666. Serena, 7 days a week. Beyonce, I mean, these people that are great, they have these incredible work ethics. And we let social media tell our young people that it's microwave success. And if you have ever read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about greatness is 10,000 hours you've done something. 10,000 hours. I've done this 10,000 hours. Sales presentations, management presentations, and now teaching in a classroom for 20 years and a public speaker. I've done it 10,000 hours. So if it feels uncomfortable, it's because I've done it 10,000 hours. There's no question that you're going to ask that hadn't been asked before. Maybe. And you know the beauty? I was just interviewing yesterday and I was asked a question. I said, I'd rather not answer that. See, a lot of people, when they're being interviewed, they think they have to answer every question. And so
That's what comes into experience too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
boundaries.
yeah, it's saying that.
Um,
I'm in that zone.
Okay,
Right,
yeah.
that's so
I got a question for you here then. So, obviously with the innovation of technology and all that sort of stuff, there's a whole bunch of jobs which are going to go. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're saying that the generation of kids currently in school, maybe 60 to 70% of the jobs they're going to do don't exist. With that in mind, what do you think needs to happen with the sort of education system and the sort of the training for work in order to sort of prepare, or what can we do to help our young people prepare for what's coming next?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because as a educator myself, looking in and out, we don't teach entrepreneurship enough. In my mind, every student in the 10th or 11th grade should take entrepreneurship. Every student the freshman year in college should take, regardless of what their degree is going to be. We need to build entrepreneurs, because there's another word called intrapreneur. And entrepreneurs, when you think, because entrepreneurship is a way that we think, right? And entrepreneurship says if you run a division or department, you think like an entrepreneur. You think like it's my business. We have to teach young people that more. We have to, something has to happen with social media. I don't know what it is, but something major has to happen to change social media. It's taking away our kids way too much their attention. And parents have to be more responsible with their kids and their young kids, allowing them to be inundated with everything that's on social media. Because you're right, AI, Microsoft is investing billions and billions and billions of dollars in AI. They wouldn't be doing that if something big is not going to happen with it. And it is going to replace a lot of jobs. And that's why you need to find your passion. That's where greatness is going to come, because I'm going to have 100 people wanting one job, and only the best is going to get it. So that would be my answer.
So I do have a follow-up to that one then. And that's around the idea of universal basic income, which even the UK is now going to try. They're going to trial it with 30 people for 2 years. So I'm not exactly sure it's going to be a big study. But do you think universal basic income will help increase innovation, increase creativity, increase entrepreneurship and passion and that sort of stuff? Or do you think it will lead to more people just vegging out?
So if I'm understanding you right, it's the equivalent to what we call welfare in America.
Yes, but it's an extension upon that, because we have benefits and things here. It is literally you do not have to do anything. You will get paid $1,500, $2,000 a month.
And that's my fear.
Unconditionally.
That's my fear. And that's why I use the word welfare, because I I think we're doing it wrong. We give you an incentive not to work, not to go to school, have more kids you have, the more you make. I think we have that all wrong. I think we have to rethink that.
Are there any more questions from the live chat? No, any from the audience?
You said something earlier, which I thought
Like
was,
your shoes.
thank you. That was really interesting, kind of about racial trauma and having to later in life kind of face some of those traumas. And we had a speaker recently that talked about kind of finding yourself in the workplace and kind of looking back at that inner child and how any trauma can kind of shape you, and you've got to revisit that. Do you think some of that was when you were talking about taking on so much to the point where it was too much? It was about kind of proving to the world as a Black man that you could do all of this and take it on and keep on piling it on. And actually, it's looking back on it, it's about being comfortable with just who you are and working the right amount for you. Was that a big
You're
part of
very
it?
close, very close. I was diagnosed with compulsivity.
Mhm.
So if we were shooting marbles, I would just want to shoot marbles and beat you. And some of that had to do with that trauma. So anything I did to the extreme.
Mhm.
Like a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, anything I did in the extreme, to the extreme. I just did a deal, hadn't been announced, but I'll share with you with Sony Pictures for the Mathew Knowles story. Because it's gonna tell what I'm in more detail. And there was also a thing called eroticized rage that came. Have you ever heard that term before? Eroticized rage. So eroticized rage is, as a Black man, I only dated white women. And it was subconsciously, I was trying to get even with white men. Pretty deep.
How long did it take you to figure that sort of out, to really try to work through the trauma and figure out?
Well, I had a Jewish white therapist and she didn't understand any of this at all. And when I got the Black male therapist, so it took about 4 or 5 years before I began to understand. I'm a proponent of mental health and therapy. I think we all need therapy.
Yeah.
And I think strong people seek therapy. So I really believe in that. And
What makes you stronger?
I talked about it. It made me stronger. I did have, during COVID, I had to call my therapist. I hadn't talked to him in, gosh, years. And I had to call him because during COVID, I was running my wife absolutely crazy. I didn't want her to go anywhere. I didn't want anybody coming to the house. I didn't want any packages. I was washing my hands 20 times a day, taking my temperature 10 times a day. That little thing that tells you about your oxygen. I was doing that 4 times a day. And it was just excessive again, right? And so I called my therapist and he shared with me that in crisis, in our lives of crisis, and every one of us here have had them, then we multiply whatever that crisis is by 25x. Mine was fear of dying. COVID, I was really frightened of dying. So I went to the extreme. But because I had a therapist, I knew, hey, this is getting out of hand. I need to call him. And thankfully, we have Zoom today, and a lot of therapy is done on Zoom. So I was able to do that. Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that we're out of time, unfortunately. I think
Really?
we could all sit
I'm
here.
just having fun.
We're just getting started. Does anyone have anything that they really, really want to ask before I wrap things up?
Thank you.
It's slightly on a different tangent, but it's just something that I've always been really curious about as someone that's generally quite a private person. How do you prepare yourself as an individual, as a parent, prepare your child, or as a mentor role model to people that you manage and grow to live in the public eye? Like,
How do I prepare is this two questions? How do I prepare my
how
children?
do people cope with living in the public eye, and
Yeah.
to the extent that you have, that Beyonce, Solange, have? And
that's a really good question too. I was at the mall in Stratford by myself walking around. When I'm in Houston, I'm by myself. I don't have security and all that stuff. I've never done that, quite frankly. When I go out at night, and sometimes we do it, half of the time it's just to have a certain look, like, you got all this security and stuff. So I feel really safe inside of myself. I don't read all the blogs, and I don't do that stuff. I'm a grown man. I don't do that. I'll read the caption, and that's about it. So a lot of this stuff I don't even know, or I don't care to know. What I do know is that my kids love me. I do know my wife loves me. I'm grateful to have a home in Houston, a home here in London now, and a home in Orange County. My banker loves me. So what someone says about me, we don't even know on social media. It'd be a 12-year-old for all and we get all bent out of shape. And you don't know if it's a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old. So I just never have gone there. And in our business, there's no bad press. And sometimes we actually insert bad press. The Jedi mind trick, I call it. You don't know how we control we being the entertainment industry, control a lot of how you think. I mean, there's people, strategy, we're gonna tell them this today. They are controlling you like this, and you're talking about this topic, and we're all laughing like, we got him. So we know how it works. So it doesn't bother us.
Must be more challenging with the people that you're bringing through the new talent.
I had said I was not going to get back in the music industry. And, I have a business partner here, because we have music role here in the UK. And we're going to sign 3 artists. My wife's not happy about that, but he's going to do most of the work. But looks like I'm going to get back in the music industry from the distance. I'm not going to get in that. More strategy than anything. No, my MBA and PhD is in business administration, strategic planning, and organizational culture. And I love doing that, being strategy. When we were doing Beyonce's beginning of her career in 2002, room about this size, we had all around the room pieces of paper, big pieces of paper, with a 5-year plan of her. And we accomplished it. And that's part of success, is that level of strategic planning.
Yeah, that's so true.
He's not going to get away without asking the question.
Very important.
He's not going to get away without asking the question.
Come on.
And you not getting away without asking the question. So can we?
Of course we can.
Okay. So the 3 of you.
Okay, Money. Okay, we're not wrapping this up yet. Okay.
I just wanted to know, like, what future success would look for you, like what you kind of have yet to achieve that has kind of been something that you've been,
Yeah, I just want to continue to have this joy and happiness. I'm in my 4th year of my recovery from male breast cancer. I was fortunate that I found it stage 1A, so I didn't have to take chemo. I had surgery, take a pill 71 now. I just want to live a healthy life with family. That's my achievement in life. That's what's important to me. Okay, who's going?
Hold on, Molly. Who's next?
All the great questions have already been asked, so.
Just do you.
Just a logistical question, because I work in logistics. Are you ready to travel anywhere in the world to give your talks, or are there
That's a good question.
places you don't want to go?
So I've been in Riyadh in the last 12 months. Riyadh, I've been to Dubai, I've been to Spain, I've been to obviously London, and I've been to one other city. I have booked now. I'm going to be in, gosh, it's next to Greece. What country is next?
Croatia?
Bulgaria.
Oh.
I'm already booked to be in Bulgaria. I'm going back to Riyadh. I'm going back to Dubai.
It's for speaking engagement.
Yeah. So, and my wife, like I said, she was a flight attendant for Pan Am. She loves to get on a plane and fly. We enjoy flying. We enjoy traveling. So the answer is absolutely yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Put the nail on here.
Good.
And my question is, what would so I play an instrument myself. I think I've got the talent.
Of course you do.
I mean, I've been playing it for 10 years, but I don't know if I've got the passion. So what would your advice be to me or any young person to get into, so because I've got the talent to get that drive?
So in a real world scenario, I would tell you, I always tell my truth and my perspective. Doesn't make it right, but it's my perspective. You know, I would say you are a lot of people just like you. You acknowledge that you don't have the passion. So it's okay. It's a hobby. And it's okay to have hobbies. So let it be a hobby, have fun with it, but go and find that passion. It's people feel bad. I don't have a passion. Hey, keep at it. And I always tell parents, because I talk to a lot of parents, created this thing, parent of gifted and talented kids. What do I do? Our role, when I was, when Beyonce and Solange were growing up, me and my former wife, we surrounded them when they were 7, 8, 9 years old. We would take them to NASA, because that was in Houston. We'd take them to the library. We would take them to a science fair. We would take them to a theater. We sat around and then we just sat back as parents and watched what they gravitated to. And it was singing and dancing, got them in a dance troupe. They excelled at that. I think that's our job, is to help kids find their passion. But if little Johnny, who wants to play softball, and he says he's passionate about it, but little Johnny doesn't, on Saturday, you have to wake him up to go to practice. It's a hobby. Because when it's a passion, little Johnny will be, no, tomorrow, Dad, I have to go, and I can't be late. And that's the difference. So I would say to you, it's a hobby, and that's all right.
Yeah, I think that's.
Feel better? Feel better? You feel better?
He was about to whip out his guitar and give you a song.
This has been so much fun. And I just want to thank you. I love how you did this.
Thank you.
And people I didn't get to meet, thank you for coming on board.
Yeah,
But this has really been fun. I hope you get a sense of who I am.
definitely. Been very
I'm
valuable.
damn good at it, Anna.
Yes, you are. I think, yeah, just to wrap things up. Beyonce, Solange's daddy, Dr. Knowles, Mr. Knowles, Mathew Knowles, Mathew.
I love you.
Thank you.
You did a great job also.
Thank you so much. So did
Yeah.
you. It was honestly such a pleasure to welcome you here today. and to learn about you and to thank you for bringing your energy and making everyone feel comfortable and engaging in a conversation in a very sort of valuable way. So we're all going to walk away with something today, and I think that that's very special and important. And to all the consultants that joined us here and online, and the ones that will watch the recording of this, thank you.
So I have a question.
Of course.
Are you going to represent me?
Well, I work in marketing, so I'm not the one that can answer that question, but our managing director, Katie, you can chat to about that one. I'm sure we'd love to.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Site, so we're just gonna sit there and wait for the elite.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Yeah, we're going to.
Push you.
Well,
Yeah, we're going to push you,
Thank you.
put you forward for clients and speaking gigs.
Thank you.
So there's definitely a prosperous future in partnership with us, with you.
Thank
That's
you.
exciting.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knowles.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.